What's up, everybody? Welcome into Shout, a Buffalo Bills football podcast. We're back. The bye week is in the rearview mirror, and we are turning our attention to the San Francisco 49ers this Sunday night against the Bills, a national primetime game. Going to The Athletic. Matt Barrows from The Athletic covers the 49ers. Matt, thank you so much for taking some time to kind of give us a look at the other side of things. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. The San Francisco 49ers probably aren't doing as well as I am, and we can get into that. But, yeah, this is going to be a very uphill climb for them, I would think, this game at night in Buffalo.
It's funny, the contrast between the Bills and the 49ers coming into this season, getting a deal done with Brandon Ayuk, bringing back the majority of the team from last year. A lot of people thought that this was going to be an NFC for the taking for the 49ers, and the Bills expected to kind of take a step back after losing Stephon Diggs and so many other players. Did you perceive this kind of dip back, or has this been a surprise to see them under 500 at this point?
Yeah, I perceived it to begin the year because it wasn't a great offseason for this team. There were all sorts of contract negotiations involving Christian McCaffrey and Trent Williams and Brandon Ayuk that cost them basically big chunks of the offseason. So they didn't have the run-up to the season that they had the year before. And, of course, everybody saw Drake Greenlaw injure his Achilles in the Super Bowl. That was another hitch. But I did think that it was going to be a case of, a good team kind of getting out to a sleepy start and then waking up at some point. I mean, all this talent, how can they not win games? And so that's been the surprise, is that they haven't broken out of their slumber yet and probably won't. And they are definitely a beat-up team. And I think that if anybody's looking for an overarching reason why the 49ers are just so disjointed this season, I think it's because, and probably the Bills can relate, they played deep into each of the last 4 off seasons. They basically played the equivalent of a full extra season since 2020. And not a young team, and I think that just caught up with them this year.
So obviously the quarterback situation is of interest on the Bills' end because very big difference between Brock Purdy and potentially Brandon Allen. Where is Purdy at? And what do the 49ers lose if he's unavailable dealing with this shoulder issue?
Yeah, he practiced on a limited basis today, and there's a big asterisk with that. He didn't throw today, which is what he did last Wednesday. And a week ago at this time, the 49ers thought that he was going to play against the Packers. He had come out of the Seahawks game, a loss to the Seahawks with a shoulder injury. They took an MRI of it the Monday after the game. The MRI came back okay. And so they said, okay, you're having some pain in the shoulder. We're just going to take it easy Tuesday, Wednesday. On Thursday, we'll get you back into more of a real practice schedule. Well, on the Thursday before the Packers game, he goes out there, throws a few passes, and shuts it down. It's just not feeling right. And so they took another MRI Thursday afternoon. That one also was negative. And they just had him not throw the ball the next 4 days. He did a little bit of throwing on Monday of this week. And basically, they're at the same point this week that they were at last week, where let's just take it easy on Wednesday. Let's see what happens on Thursday. And if Thursday goes well, I think he'll be the starter in Buffalo. But, again, they thought the same thing last week, and it turned out obviously drastically different for them. What they lose is, a quarterback who's been throwing to these guys all season long. I didn't think that Brandon Allen played poorly against the Packers. It was a very slow start. He was out of sync. He hadn't started a game since 2021. He played fine from that point forward. But he was not in a great rhythm to begin with. With Brock Purdy, you would just have somebody that can get hot quickly, has been throwing to Juwan Jennings, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel all season. You don't need any sort of warm-up period to find your rhythm, to get in sync with your guys.
Obviously, offensively, Christian McCaffrey is a guy that the Bills defense will be zeroing in on this week. How has he looked in his couple games back? And do you feel like he's now kind of rounding into form and expect, maybe an explosive performance potentially this weekend?
Yeah, that's always there. That was part of what the 49ers calculus was this season, that, okay, we started out the season 5-5. We're a 500 team, but we're going to get Christian McCaffrey back. And once Christian McCaffrey comes back, this offense is just going to take off, just like it did last year. That hasn't happened. In fact, they've had, 3 of their worst running performances with McCaffrey back in the lineup. So that boost that they thought that McCaffrey was going to bring hasn't been there. I don't think that's because McCaffrey is, light years away from where he was at this point last year. It's just the overall offense isn't firing like it should. And so it's taken him a little bit longer to kind of reach where he was in 2023. That's sort of the theme here, is that we keep expecting the 2023 49ers, the 2023 Christian McCaffrey to make an appearance, and they just haven't to this point. So could it happen Sunday in Buffalo? Yeah, it could. But it probably should have happened the last few weeks. And the other part of that is that Trent Williams, their all-pro left tackle, walking around today on a knee scooter. He's got an injury that's really been bothering him the last few weeks. Probably not going to play on the turf in Buffalo. And if he does, it'll require a pain-numbing injection for him to be out there.
Mm-hmm. And I saw, at least according to Pro Football Focus, Jalen Moore, his backup, played pretty well last week. Are they high on him? Do they like what he brings in place of Williams if he has to play?
Yeah, I mean, Trent Williams has not played a full season since, I'm trying to remember, it might be 2013. So he usually misses a few games a year. And for the 49ers, at least, it's been Jalen Moore who's always stepped in. He's very good in pass protection. He's not as mobile as Trent Williams is. Few tackles are. So you lose something in the run blocking. The 49ers love that outside zone run, sort of the stretch zone that not a lot of defenses see all the time. So they usually exploit teams that way. It's just something that's not been as available to them with Trent Williams absent.
Yeah, I'm super interested in that part of it, because this is actually one of the defenses that I feel like could potentially play well in that department. I know that they didn't do well against Baltimore early in the season, a little bit of a different scheme, but their own offense with James Cook, they like to lean on the zone, outside zone runs as well. So that'll be interesting. And there's the other caveat to things, in that this could be the return of Matt Milano, who I think has been a sorely missing part of their run defense over the course of the season. Dorian Williams, their backup, he's on track for 150 tackles, which would be way more than Milano's ever had. But the instincts just aren't necessarily the same. So I think that that's one of the key matchups in this game is, can the 49ers run the ball against this Bills defense, which at times this year when they've struggled, it's been against the run.
Whether it's Brandon Allen or Brock Purdy, I mean, that's what the 49ers are going to want to do, especially if there's bad weather. And you're right. Teams that, use that zone running, obviously the Bills saw a lot of it in training camp, for example. The 49ers just played the Packers. Packers used the same thing. The Packers defended it very well. In fact, the 49ers gained 44 rushing yards in Green Bay, which, bottom 11 all time for that franchise. So it's something that the 49ers will definitely be trying to remedy, get back to running the ball. Even if it's not working early, I guarantee you they're going to try to be persistent with it on Sunday.
A couple quick words from our sponsor. I want to flip it over to the Bills on offense and what they'll be dealing with the 49ers defense next. 'Tis the season to save on groceries and all of your favorite holiday gifts. Christmas bonus underway at Tops. Shop at Tops and save $10 at all your other favorite stores and restaurants. With over 25 gift cards to choose from, there's something for everyone on your list. Be Santa's biggest little helper with Christmas bonus from Topps. I mentioned that run game for the Bills, and James Cook has had a really good season, specifically on the scoring front. He's been a little bit of a different red zone threat for them. 4 touchdowns in his first couple of seasons. He's at 9 now through 11 games. This is coming off of a performance for this 49ers defense where it just seemed like Josh Jacobs was able to do whatever he wanted to do. Is this an area of concern for this 49ers defensive unit coming in on the road, cross country, to defend this Bills running game?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Josh Jacobs ran all over them. No doubt about it. He had 91 yards at halftime. They're playing without Nick Bosa. They lost their biggest defensive tackle, their run stuffer, Jordan Elliott, early in the game too. That's a big part of it. The other part we learned more about today. In fact, Fred Warner at the beginning of the season looked like Defensive Player of the Year candidate. I mean, he was forcing fumbles. He was running all over the field. He was just flying around. And in recent weeks, it just hasn't been the same Fred Warner. And we've asked him a couple of times, are you still dealing with an ankle injury that he picked up in week 4 against the Patriots? And his answer has always been yes. You never really get rid of those things. Today, he went a little deeper on the matter and revealed that he actually has a broken bone in his ankle that he's been playing on, and which has not been able to heal because he keeps playing each week. A healthy Fred Warner is probably the best middle linebacker in the league. A Fred Warner with a broken bone in his ankle looks like all the other middle linebackers out there. So that was another huge part of the equation. And so it's really a question of, okay, how do the 49ers get better when they have all these things going against them? And I don't know if there's an answer. I mean, they gave a lot of credit to Josh Jacobs, a running back that they really, really respect, going back to his days with the Raiders. But it's going to be certainly something that they focus on and hope to improve on. I just don't know how, given their personnel, they're going to be able to really make a huge improvement in that area.
What's the latest on Nick Bosa, and what do you think his prospects of playing this weekend? Is there anybody else that's either on the injury report? I'm not sure when we're taping this, if it came out yet for the 49ers, or somebody that didn't practice today that has you concerned for this weekend?
Yeah, Bosa said he was feeling a little bit better this week than he did at this point last week. He didn't play against the Packers. He said he'd need to have more improvement over the next couple of days in order to play. He won't practice at all. He hasn't practiced in a while. So he's iffy, but I would say he's got a better chance to play against the Bills than he did against Green Bay. Another guy to look out for is Diamador Lenore, who's really been probably their most consistent defensive player all season. He's a cornerback. He had a knee issue against the Packers. He did not practice today either. Saw him in the locker room. He was moving around okay, so I think he's a possibility to play as well. If they have all of their secondary, they have one of the better cornerback groups in the NFL. Charvarius Ward on one side, Diamador Lenore on the other. They're using their second-round draft pick, Renardo Green, from Florida State, as their third cornerback. So that's an area of strength for this team. An area of weakness, though, has been just the way that their defensive philosophy is. They have a very aggressive defensive line, likes to get upfield, basically play the run on the way to the quarterback. And that's left them vulnerable to rushing quarterbacks over the years. Kyler Murray's had big games against them. Other running quarterbacks have as well. So, that might be an area where a Josh Allen can really kind of do some damage. I'm envisioning a scenario where it might be close at the end of the game, and then, Allen just kind of takes off for some critical first downs, et cetera, et cetera. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility at all.
When you take a look at you talked a little bit about your expectations and going into the season and maybe how things shifted early on. How has the fan base reacted to this? Because it's wild to watch from afar a team like the 49ers who so consistently are competitive, even during like tough stretches over the years. I think they're really well coached with Kyle Shanahan. It feels like they have their quarterback and Brock Purdy, obviously notwithstanding the issues that he's dealing with the shoulder right now. What's the temperature of the fan base right now with the way that this season is kind of coming off the rails, and how desperate of a team do you sense after being in the locker room today is going to be coming to Buffalo this weekend?
The fan base, you just said off the rails. I think that'd be a good description of the 49ers fan base. I mean, everybody, came in with high expectations. This was going to be the year that they made it back to the Super Bowl. But that doesn't look like it's happening. And the temperature of the locker room, I mean, they knew that they had to go into Green Bay and be as sharp as possible. They didn't have their starting quarterback. They didn't have their starting left tackle. They didn't have their best edge rusher. Everybody had to be really good against Green Bay, a team that they're competing with in the NFC, in order to stay in that game. And they just started that game so flatly. I mean, they even had trouble keeping their feet. There's a lot of slipping in Green Bay. Wasn't terrible field conditions at all. The Packers had no problems. The 49ers did. It just underscored that, even when this team ostensibly is kind of reaching deep for that extra something, they're reaching and they're not coming up with anything. So again, could the Bills week be the week that finally the 2023 49ers show up? I guess it could, but again, we've been waiting on this for 13 weeks now, and it just hasn't happened.
Thank you so much, Matt, for carving out a little bit of time to give us a preview for this 49ers game coming up. Please let everybody know where they can find you this week and where they can read your work.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter or X at Matt Barrows, and same with Blue Sky. And my work is in The Athletic if you want to look for me there.
Thank you so much. Safe travels this weekend, and we will see you hopefully in the press box on Sunday night.
Yeah, see you there. Okay, cool.
Take care. And for all of you watching, a quick word. We are coming back to Turning Stone this weekend. We cannot wait. We hope you can come out and see us. What's up, everybody? Matt Parrino here with Ryan Talbot. We're the host of the Shout Buffalo Bills Football Podcast, and we have some big news. We're coming back to Turning Stone Resort Casino. That's right, New York Rec and Social Club, November 30th, the night before the Bills host the San Francisco 49ers. It's going to be a night of Bills football, talking, food, everything, Ryan. We cannot wait.
That's right, Matt. Nobody travels like the Bills Mafia. Come out and join us for the podcast and hang out with us after. The event is open to the public. Guests must be 18 years or older. Come out and let's get after it.
It's going to be a live edition of Shout, a Buffalo Bills Football Podcast. We're previewing Bills versus 49ers. See you then.